A quiet town. A perfect family. But beneath the surface, a web of lies was spinning. Affair, betrayal, a drop from murder. He offered $10,000.
What if the perfect way to get away with murder was to make yourself look like a hero? On February 24, 2023, in a quiet Virginia suburb, a 911 call came in. A man's voice, panicked and breathless, reported a home invasion. He said he'd just shot an intruder who was attacking his wife. When police arrived, they found a scene of absolute chaos. A man was dead in the hallway, shot by a federal agent's gun. A woman was dead in the bedroom, stabbed in the neck. And standing over them covered in blood was the man who called 911. He was the hero who saved his family. Or so it seemed. This is the story of an affair, a secret fetish website, and a plot so twisted it took a jury nearly 3 years to untangle. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a loving husband and father became convicted of a murder-for-hire scheme that left 2 people dead, and why the key witness might walk free tomorrow. To understand how 2 people ended up dead, you have to understand the 3 people living inside that house before the tragedy. Brendan Banfield was a former special agent for the IRS. High-stakes financial crimes were his specialty. His wife, Christine, was a beloved pediatric nurse, caring, dedicated, and a mother to their young daughter. On paper, they were the perfect American family. But by early 2023, the cracks were showing. To help with their 4-year-old daughter, the couple hired an au pair from Brazil. Her name was Juliana Perez Magalhães. She was young, she was living in their home, and very quickly she became far more than just a nanny. Prosecutors revealed that Brendan and Juliana were having a passionate affair right under Christine's roof. But here's the first twist. Brendan wasn't just cheating with the help. He and Juliana shared a dark, specific hobby. They were both active on a fetish website, a platform for people with extreme sexual fantasies involving domination, force, and roleplay. This wasn't just a casual secret. It was the engine that would drive the entire murder plot. Now, here is where the story takes a turn from a messy divorce waiting to happen into a criminal conspiracy. According to trial testimony, Brendan and Juliana didn't just want Christine gone. They needed a patsy. They needed a pawn they could sacrifice. So, they logged onto that fetish website and created a fake profile, but they didn't use Juliana's photos. They didn't use a random model. They used Christine's real pictures. They posed as Christine Banfield, and they started looking for a man interested in a very specific, very violent scenario, a home invasion, a rape fantasy, restraints, a knife. They were advertising for their own hitman. Eventually, they found their target, a man named Joseph Ryan. He was an unsuspecting victim. He had no idea he was talking to the au pair and the husband. He thought he was chatting with a bored housewife named Christine looking for a dangerous thrill. The messages were explicit. They told him exactly what to do. Come to the house early in the morning. The door will be unlocked. Go to the bedroom. Christine will be waiting. She likes to struggle. She likes it rough. Joseph Ryan took the bait. He drove to the Banfield residence in the early morning hours of February 24, 2023. He was walking into a trap, but not the one he expected. What happened inside that house is where the 2 versions of the story violently collide. Brendan Banfield's version is simple. He told police he was at work early that morning. Juliana called him in a panic saying an intruder was in the house. He rushed home, burst into the bedroom, and found Joseph Ryan on top of his naked wife, attacking her with a knife. Brendan, the trained federal agent, drew his weapon and shot the intruder. Killing him instantly, he saved his wife. There's just one problem with that story. Christine was still dead, and she wasn't killed by the intruder. The medical examiner found that Christine Banfield died from a single, deep stab wound to the neck. The knife that killed her was never in Joseph Ryan's hand. It was found near the bed. So, who stabbed Christine, if Brendan is to be believed? Joseph Ryan stabbed her, dropped the knife, and then was shot. But the evidence didn't add up. Blood spatter experts testified in court that the blood on Joseph Ryan's hands told a different story. Christine's blood dripped downward onto his hands. That means when Christine was bleeding, Joseph Ryan was likely beneath her, not on top of her, stabbing her. The scene was wrong. It looked staged. It looked like Joseph Ryan was already dead or dying when Christine's blood fell on him. For months, the police investigated, but they were missing the smoking gun. They had a messy crime scene and a grieving husband. That was, until they put pressure on the 3rd person in the house that morning. Juliana, facing serious charges. Juliana flipped. She took a plea deal in exchange for her testimony against Brendan. The charge against her was dropped from murder to manslaughter. Her potential sentence, time served. She might walk out of court a free woman and be deported back to Brazil. And her testimony was explosive. Juliana told the jury that there was no panicked call to Brendan. He wasn't at work. He was already home. They were waiting. She described how they stood in the hallway together, listening as Joseph Ryan entered the bedroom, believing he was meeting Christine for a consensual encounter. When the time was right, they burst in. Juliana testified that Brendan shot Joseph Ryan first, a man who was likely confused and unarmed. Then, With Ryan dying or dead on the floor, Brendan turned to his wife. He took the knife, and he stabbed her in the neck. The plan was perfect. It was supposed to look like a home invasion gone wrong. Brendan, the hero, saves the day by killing the bad guy, but tragically his wife dies. It was a murder for hire where the hitman was also a victim. But this is America. Brendan Banfield is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and his defense attorney, John Carroll, came out swinging. He didn't try to deny the affair. He embraced it. He said yes, Brendan was a cheating husband, but being a liar and a cheater doesn't make you a killer. Carroll's strategy was simple: destroy Juliana. He painted her as the real mastermind. He pointed out that she was the one facing deportation. She was the one who needed a deal to stay out of an American prison. She was the one who, while in jail, started shopping a story to Netflix for a documentary. She had a massive financial incentive to make the story as juicy and dramatic as possible. And then, the defense dropped a bombshell. They claimed that the fetish profile used to lure Joseph Ryan wasn't created by Brendan and Juliana at all. They suggested it was Christine. They presented evidence from a digital forensics analyst who claimed data from Christine's own devices suggested she might have been active on those sites herself. The defense floated the theory that perhaps Christine was the one into dangerous roleplay. Maybe she invited Joseph Ryan. Maybe the whole thing was a consensual encounter that went horribly wrong. And Brendan really did just come home to find his wife in a nightmare scenario. For a moment, the case cracked wide open. Was Brendan a cold-blooded killer or a cuckolded husband who walked in on his wife's dark secret? The jury deliberated for nearly 9 hours over 2 days. 9 hours to decide the fate of 2 dead bodies, a ruined family, and a 4-year-old girl who was sleeping in the basement while her father allegedly stabbed her mother upstairs. On February 1, 2026, the court stood. The jury filed in. The 4 persons stood up. On the charge of aggravated murder for the death of Christine Banfield, guilty. On the charge of aggravated murder for the death of Joseph Ryan, guilty. The jury didn't buy the defense's theory. They didn't buy the hero story. They looked at the evidence, they listened to Juliana's testimony, and they decided that Brendan Banfield was a man who plotted for months to kill his wife and frame an innocent man to do it. Brendan Banfield, the former federal agent, now faces mandatory life in prison without parole. Brendan Banfield will be formally sentenced on May 8, 2026. He will likely die in prison. Juliana Petty's Margolines, the au pair who helped plan the murders, will be sentenced soon after. She's expected to walk free for time served and be put on a plane back to Brazil. As for the 4-year-old girl who was in the house that night, she's now 7. She's living with relatives. And one day she will be old enough to search for her parents' names online. When she does, she won't find a story about a hero who saved his family. She'll find this video. She'll find the trial, and she'll learn that the man who was supposed to protect her is the reason she's an orphan. If you found this story as unsettling as we did, hit that like button. It helps other true crime fans find the channel. Subscribe if you want to stay for the next deep dive, because we've got another case coming next week that might just blow this one out of the water. Thanks for watching. And remember, the scariest monsters aren't the ones hiding under the bed. They're the ones hiding in plain sight. See you in the next one.